Next Monday night, we are running the BGS Music Meetup. That is a meetup much like this one, but it's specifically for game music.
I just wanted to find something where I could fit in and belong, and I found them online, showed up one day, and never stopped coming again.
Video game designer Joe Wilson almost never misses a Thursday night at Buffalo Game Space. It's where he and nearly 30 people get together for a game developer meetup.
Next, we are officially announcing in about a month, BGS Jam 5 is going down.
An organizer runs through some quick announcements before they begin. Buffalo Game Space is a place for anyone to make video games. You can take your pick at classes, use the space to create, and just bounce your unfinished work off other game gurus.
Like right now I'm working on a project called Utheros, which is an MMORPG. It's a massive, massive title like World of Warcraft. And my job is to design the cities. So the starting cities and the environment itself.
PJ Muscal heads the workshops at Buffalo Game Space. He just put together the latest game jam.
48 hours, usually hackathons for game development. And that's a chance for our members to test their skills and also come up with new interesting ideas.
With so many people playing video games, it's no wonder that psychologists are studying what makes them so compelling. And gamification is a buzzword that you might have heard or read in the last few years. It's been working wonders in the workplace and schools. Customer relations and classroom lessons are becoming more and more gamified. In the simplest terms, gamification happens when you introduce a game-like environment to help drive certain behaviors.
That's another thing that I'm personally interested in is serious games.
How would you explore that?
So games for learning, games for training, games for education, games for health, games even for social change.
Gamification has taken over our lives, and it all came from video games. Stop by the Strong's International Center for the History of Electronic Games, and you'll find more than 55,000 items in their collection. The most important arcade games of all time, and every major video game platform that ever existed. John Paul Dyson is the director of this center. He says that despite the obsession, there's still a feeling out there that video games do more bad than good.
Video games have been part of this long story, going from the novel to movies to television to comic books, in which people have feared this thing and then eventually they've accepted it and then embraced it. And the key determinant there in making this change is just simple familiarity and generational turnover.
Granted, gamification techniques do get people to change their behavior, but instead of focusing on the rewards, Dyson says motivation is the key.
Find ways that the gaming mechanism can act in accordance with people's own intrinsic motivations. If you're trying to force people, get someone to do something that they don't want to do, just for using a game, it's probably not going to work, or game elements. It's not going to work.
Buffalo Game Space is always trying to level up. Muscal says he'd like the group to focus future efforts on diversifying the roster of developers in the region.
We have a huge, for example, refugee community in Buffalo. Immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself. And it would be really great to reach out to these communities because there's a lot of potential there.
And so far, members like Joe Wilson can't get enough of the space. I mean, where else can they go to freely submerge in video games all day long, no questions asked?
I fell in love with the space, and I've been trying to do everything I can to support them.
For the Innovation Trail, I'm Sasha Ann Simons.